Hey, last night I went to bed with a sore throat, pretty nasty sore throat, and because I am a warrior, all the thoughts started going through my head. We have been social distancing a whole 3 days before it was cool to social distance, 3 days before schools let all the kids out, because my family had a hacking dry cough that entire week, and no fevers, but coughing, and me being a worrying mom. And I unenrolled them from school a whole 2 days before the schools let out. That's so practical, but we don't know. We don't know. And last night I went to bed with a sore throat. I was gonna bake bread for my whole extended family today. I had the flour and the yeast all prepped, and my uncle, he's making this amazing smoked chicken that he makes and dropping it off for our whole extended family, and it's just really awesome of him. 40 pounds of smoked chicken, because that is who he is. Shout out to Uncle Bill. So I was gonna, sorry about the motorcycles. I'm close to the road in a floodplain, digging up dirt right now. But I was gonna bake bread, and because of my sore throat, I figured I better not today, because we don't know. So instead, I am planting seeds. I am starting some of my seeds, and I'm down here in the floodplain on our land by the creek, digging up dirt to fill the trays that I'm gonna start my seed in. And we've already started our snap peas, our sweet peas. We have a couple of rows of them growing, but today I hope to plant some more peas and some early cucumbers, and start a couple other things that can go out. So we are down here in the floodplain, and all I did was clear back some of the overgrowth that laid there over winter. I'm in my falling apart Birkenstocks, fake Birks. But what I want to draw your attention to is the soil. At my video up at the farm, I talked about the health of soil and how good soil has decay in it. It has the things that are rotting away, the things that were once more motorcycles. Motorcycles love our road. It has the things that were once alive and thriving as we knew it, and they're now not. They have rotted, they have spoiled, they have gone astray, they have lost life as we know it. And yet, in their decay, they become humus. They become the richest soil that you could ever hope to plant in. When I go down into the floodplain of our yard and I dig up the soil, it is as good, if not better, than any potting soil I could buy from a garden store, because it's in the floodplain. Sarah Groves has a song called Floodplain. Shout out to Sarah Groves, another one of my heroes for sure. In it, she talks about how some people's hearts are built on a floodplain, and this song came out during this crazy time in our lives where we were debating buying a house that is like exactly on the border of a 100-year floodplain, during a time when 100-year floods are becoming a lot more often than 100-year floods. And we were so torn because you know, the logic in us knew that this probably was not the earth's wisdom to buy a house on the exact border of a 100-year floodplain, that there was a lot of risk involved in that. But the artist in me, the dreamer in me, just had to do it. I had to do it. There was this old dilapidated farmhouse on the border of a floodplain, which meant we could build a back porch on it and look out at the most beautiful little creek and meadow and get ourselves some ducks and a garden, and I could dream of the beauty that would be there. So despite the risk, we bought the house and on the border of the floodplain. And Sara Groves came out with this album during that time that she called Floodplain. And she talks about how some people build their lives, their hearts on a floodplain. And I heard a commentary from her where she was talking about people that need to live on a floodplain, that they need to build their existence on the floodplain, and they work so hard, and these are the people on the margins that don't have the power and luxury to choose to live on the border of the floodplain, but they're there in the thick of it. And the amazing thing about creeks and rivers is that they are ever changing. It's like the world around us, you know. One day you'll wake up and that little creek will be absolutely peaceful and flowing. And we're going to walk down to the creek as I talk. And a couple days later, you'll have mass amounts of rain, and the creek will turn from something peaceful into something absolutely threatening and overflow its banks. Here you can see where our creek has risen up and overflowed its banks and carried along with it anything that had tried to take root in its path. But on days like today, you watch the creek and it's an absolute place of peace. The lyrics of the song say, some people's hearts are built on the floodplain, closer to the life and the ebb and flow, closer to the edge of I don't know. It's a precarious place to live the life of the heart in a spot where you feel all the things, where you feel the rise and the fall of the world around you. And some people up on the bluffs that aren't made to live that way and soak up all the light and all the shadow and all the ebbs and flows and live that close to the source of life may laugh at us and see this as weakness or drama. But I believe that when you live here, when you live your heart in the place of the floodplain, or maybe if you have the luxury, more wisely, on the edge of the floodplain, you are able to be closer to the heart of God, because I believe this is where He is. away from the distraction, away from the numbness, away from all of the things that we can focus our eyes on to pull us away from the invitation of nature, the invitation of life, the invitation of being vulnerable and experiencing life in all of her light and shadow and all of her ebbs and flows. I don't know, just as the water is ever changing and never stopping, so is the heart of God here in this place on the floodplain. You know, I said I'm out here digging soil today and to pot plants. And as precarious as life on the floodplain is for the plants and animals that live here, when you're able to pricker bushes, when you're able to lost my shoe in the pricker bushes in the floodplain, that's practical. When you're able to harvest soil from the floodplain and take it somewhere else, there is no better seed starter, right? It is filled with all of the life, all of the microorganisms, all of the little baby worms that make soil healthy for baby plants to grow, and for all of the uncertainty that the floodplain causes with the ebbs and flows and all of the unknowns, what it leaves behind, even in the destruction, is the most beautiful, solid thing for giving new life. Space for new life. Gosh, like, that's pretty profound, right? Jesus talked a lot about seeds and about soil and where more motorcycles where seeds fall, what the soil of our hearts are like, where wisdom can be planted and take root. And I want to encourage you all today that if you're feeling all the feels, you might not be losing it. You know, there's a number of ways that you can go in that, but being close to the ebbs and flows of life, if you find yourself in what feels like the bank of a raging river, I would encourage you to get to higher ground, but also not to count everything that's lost as lost. To ask God for wisdom. To ask God to use that raging river to soften and replenish the soil of your heart. You know, we can have hard hearts. We can have hearts that are waterlogged and not good for growing anything. We can have hearts that are filled with trash and substance that prevents anything good from taking root. We can have hearts that are filled with stones. But if we trust the process of letting go, of watching the flood rise up around us and having faith that God will return the creek to her banks in due time. In that, we can pray and we can trust that God will make all things beautiful in their time. That even in the death and destruction, what seems like a loss of hope can actually be the very thing that God, although He did not send it, is using to create fresh soil for new life, better life, resurrected life, a different life than what we had going into this floodplain. It's my prayer that fear would be far from you and wisdom would be all around you, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding, even husbands loading wood into trucks, that the peace of God that surpasses all understanding would be heavy upon you, and that the soil of your heart would be refreshed and strengthened and ready for new life. Wishing you all peace. Peace on the floodplain. Peace in the pandemic.